Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Chappell, and I'm here with a panel of people who have a lot explaining to do. We're going to talk about the Survivor 47 draft. This is our mid-season check-in, and so much has gone on that we had to get as many people of the panel that we could back together to really talk about what's been going on in our draft, because some people have a lot of noise to talk, and some people might just be getting booted off the draft forever. With me, starting just right here to my left, Shannon, welcome back.
Hello.
Hi, Shannon.
Hi.
You're happy to be back here to talk about the draft? I'm sure this was your idea.
I mean, yes, because people like the draft. I like the draft. I came up with the idea last season, and then this season it was risky because I've only had Rachel since week 4. And if she didn't make it here, I probably was going to call in sick. But with Rachel flying, I was more psyched than ever to be here. So, yeah, it's gone pretty well right now.
Yeah, I too am very surprised that you're here. Someone I'm less surprised to see here, Pooya. Pooya, welcome back.
Thank you. It's great to be back. It's always fun to talk draft. Whether or not we have players remaining or one remaining, on an island, it's still a good time to reconnect with everybody until all of you get way too cocky and we don't want to talk to each other again for a little bit. But for now, I'm happy.
Well, speaking of cocky, I'll go ahead and get in front of this before everybody else does. Somehow, this man has managed to keep 3 people on his draft team for the second time in a row. Big Brother, and now here on Survivor. We're heading into the home stretch, and Mr. Robot himself has not lost one player. Taran, how do you do it, man?
I was reminded by my chat the other day that it also happened on Big Brother Canada this year.
All right, now look, no, that's not canon. Okay, we don't talk
I
about
agree. Big Brother Canada is not really canon. We don't count
it. Doesn't exist. I'm sorry.
Listen, I just had this thought, and I know nobody's really talked about this before, but I was thinking about it. I was looking into what would be like your average draft placement, and so I just started thinking about how cool would it be if I had a good average draft placement now that I've thought about this for the first time ever. And so I've just been working on that, and you know what, it's been working out pretty well.
Hey, that's fine for me because I'm sure I have by far the best average draft placement in this Survivor draft. Yes, even though my first 2 picks didn't go super well this season.
What is your current average draft placement this season?
Yeah, this season's not. Overall, I don't know what about Big Brother.
But that's
Big Brother
before
Canada,
anybody was really thinking about it. I think, from my memory,
I think people were thinking about it. I think that
I don't remember ever hearing about it. That's weird.
How come when Taran says his chat reminds him, no one bats an eye, but when I say the people want this from me, everyone's like, "Who are the people?" I have people.
We know his chat exists. If he wants,
I have people.
Chat, we could click it and go see. But could you just add them at your people? I just want to see
my people at you. Picking the people at Chappell about please do that. Please don't embarrass me.
Look,
there are people.
They're there. I'm sure there's a lot of there, as Mike Bloom would say. But you know who is not here? Rob Sesternino. And so Sam, could you pull up the graphic for me? Because Rob kicked off our draft this time. And let's just talk about him. Okay.
Wait.
I got a lot to say.
I got a lot to say as well. For number one, so I haven't checked out Club Condo yet, Chappell. I always do. It's a good time. But I believe what I heard is Rob claimed he was not invited to this soiree here with the
Why would we invite him? He doesn't have anyone in the game.
He said
that's a good point.
He said we shunned him. No, I was told not to come.
Is he not in the group chat?
He very much is. He very much is.
What do you mean?
Exactly.
It's a really good way to learn that Rob's not reading the group chat. That's how I found out my dad wasn't reading our family group chat. It kind of feels like that. It actually feels exactly the same way.
That happened to me.
Important information there.
That happened to me this week, where I was like, Liana, let me show you a TikTok, and then she's like, I sent that to the family chat. I was like, oh, when? She's like, 3 days ago. I was like, good for you. Anyway, I just saw it now. But no, here's the thing. The reason I'm gonna give Rob some guff here is because Rob had a lot of cockiness to hold coming in as the champion after winning the draft last season.
Champion win.
Right. He even do that right. He came in second, but whatever. Only to then give us all that grief, pick and then make everyone look a fool and give presentations to pick Asia himself, only to then grenade himself out of the draft. And by the time the jury begins, be the first out clean and then not show up here.
I mean, we had the relegation clause and I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know how it's looking.
Drafting again.
back
So
for-
that might look. He should have definitely just left it at like the best possible scenario last season. We had the best average draft placement, and he won. He won by every distinguishable metric other than actually having the winner of the season. So
real
that went
distinguishable metric.
excellently. And then this was like the opposite of that. Why did we blow past the fact that the chat right now is saying they're my people?
I
Like,
don't
if
see
they
it.
did that on the screen. It was there.
I don't see it. Nope.
There's so many people. Like,
nope,
don't
still
gaslight
not.
the chat.
No.
Don't
Is
gaslight
that
We
the
need
one?
to find is
Don't-
what I'm
don't
saying.
cherry pick the one
Well,
comment
no.
that says
No,
I'll tell
I
you,
saw
I'm
it.
looking
I
at this chat.
A
No, I
cherry
am
pick
actually
is a
looking
strong
at
word.
it.
Yeah.
I am struggling.
Shannon
What
has
are
a
you
different
talking
chat.
about? Do not
I'm
do that.
sorry.
I'm one
Yeah.
of the people. I am Shannon's people. There are people. I'm the people.
Count
okay, well,
yourself.
that's one. Shannon, thank you.
There were
for
4
commenting.
different people who said that in a row. Then someone said
Oh,
Team
okay, okay.
Shannon.
Oh, okay. That
Don't
says
gaslight
at
the
Shannon
chat.
Gates, parentheses Gus. Okay, fine. If that's what you want to say, at Shannon Gates / Gus, but okay. Yeah, let me start with Rob because since he didn't want to come,
Okay.
I want to point out that by the time we ended our draft, he was shaming me for my picks. He was like, I thought Chappell had a good draft until like, sir,
He
dare
became French.
you? Yeah, like what, bro? I begged and pleaded for him to let me have Asia on my team, and he just had to like sit there all smug, like I guess I want you. Asia literally asked for me to pick her, and he still denied it. And so this is his karma. This is Asia's karma. Okay, his whole
Wow, in
entire
hindsight,
team.
Wow.
What a play by Asia.
Yes, yes. She's like,
Well, you can't say we're spoiled. That's, I think, really important. I think we really proved something.
Yeah, Taran, what I think I learned with that is Asia loves us. Asia was looking out for us, Shout out Asia.
Yeah.
What about me?
Asia,
She specifically didn't want me to pick her. She loves me the most.
she tried to save you. Yeah, she did. She was like, please give Shannon a shot. And look, Rob took the bait. He picked Asia for his first pick. And, here at the RHAP family, we love us some Asia.
Oh, yeah.
Pooya, talk to me. What went wrong? Why is Asia not our winner here on this RHAP draft? Why is Rob out of the draft right now?
Well, Rob's out because he got grenaded, so that we can't even put that on Asia. Like that wasn't even the
that's
Asia
true.
pick. I mean, listen, the first 3-4 episodes of the season was the rise of the Roman hierarchy, where Rome just happened to have the full control. He has an idol. He's looking around. He's got control, and it's a very tough. He's fishing. It was a very tough person to take down, and ultimately, I think it was more of a, well, we don't want to have to deal with Rome if we don't do things his way, and he's still here. So let's just do something else, and Asia becomes the something else. That, and I do think that, if I remember correctly, Asia really planting the feet in and saying, I'm not getting rid of Saul. It's Genevieve or it's Dust, is kind of the other part where other people looked more willing to switch up on the vote, whereas Asia was like, this is the vote or it's nothing. And I feel like that's really what it was.
In hindsight, it feels like this was like you could really lay this at the feet of Genevieve, who successfully managed to kind of trick Kishan and Teeny into thinking that she was a solid number for them, more so than Asia and Saul. Which obviously was not the case. And I think that, like, I definitely took a little bit of glee in this, but like the move to take out Asia was so clearly the wrong one for pretty much everyone on that tribe except for Genevieve. Teeny is still in it with a shot, but, clearly not as good a position as they might have been in had Asia been there instead of Genevieve.
Well, Asia got Genevieve. Like that, and a lot of people have been Genevieve, and we didn't know that at the time because Genevieve was so purple then. And I think we even joked, like, imagine if this is all Genevieve, and then like we found out it was, and we're like, imagine if Asia is against like one of the best social players ever, and that wins out like against everyone else's best interest because they want to work with this person so much because she's like a magical social player, and then that was true. So many people that day got Genevieve, and until last week we're getting Genevieve, and I think that is what happened. So very unfortunate because in those small tribes, if you're going to go up against like such a kind of awe-inspiring social player like Genevieve has been, there's little room to move, especially when they wanted Rome out. He has an idol, and now like the options are very, very limited. But I do feel like with Rob, do we think that we can't let him play again? Because I'm thinking this is a Tony run. Last season, Kagyan. This season is his game changers. But let's not let him come back for the Winners of War.
Yeah, let Asia come back and draft again.
Yes.
You know, yeah, I'll
Come
take
back
it.
home, Asia.
Right. I can't deal with another RHAP person going on Survivor. It was too much. I really did not enjoy the first few episodes of this season at all. I mean, I'm talking about at all. But the one thing I will give Asia is there's a reason why Genevieve was purple. I mean, look at the material. There was so much Asia content to give them. Like between Asia, Baby Andy, and John Lovett, it's like, yeah, we'll get to Genevieve. She'll have her moment. I think they gave Asia and RJP time to shine while she was on the show. And then when she got eliminated, it was very sad that she had to go, but also good on Rob. You know, I'm happy that this happened to Rob because he really did play in my face. And so moving on, Taran, you had the second pick. And you chose another RHAP favorite. You chose Baby Andy, and I was very jealous, Taran, but it seems like things are going well.
Yeah, it was a bit of a roller coaster. People were really dogging on me for the Andy pick after the first couple of episodes.
That was a rough episode 1, Taran. Very rough one.
For sure, yeah.
And I was feeling, because obviously it was Andy or Teeny that I was looking at. I was feeling like, oof, you know, Teeny had such a strong start. Maybe I should have gone with Teeny. But now I feel like it's flipped a little bit, and Andy has had quite the comeback. And maybe my highest value player on the board right now in terms of win equity. I'm not sure, but it's certainly possible. He has been like the star of multiple episodes. They keep like highlighting him at the start of every episode, and where I'm like, oh, okay, here it is. This is his downfall episode. But then just like nothing happens. He's just like in the mix with everyone, and everyone's trusting him. And I'm like, how did this happen?
Like,
yeah,
I'm
he's
pretty
the
sure
number one edgy pick.
And he's had the episode title 3 weeks or 4 weeks in a row now. They've been his titles, all of them.
I mean, speaking of Tony, he reminds me of Tony in terms of his edit, in the sense that like Tony was hard to predict as the winner that season, his original season, because he was such a big character that you're like, well, obviously you're giving Tony a bunch of content, but he's not the winner. So it was like, oh, it's the Woo. Woo is going to win the season because he has the under the radar edit sort of thing, where it's like, you know, Andy could be the winner and be having all this content, or he could just be Andy and having all this content. And it's impossible to tell the difference as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, he's so compelling in his own right. But I am worried, and I said this on the recap this week, that like we don't really hear from other people about how like Andy is the spider now. And he requires such a drastic perception change. And if anything, like what we've heard recently, like from Sierra, who's, you know, head of Ponderosa at this point, like is negative things. So I kind of do worry that Andy will get to the end and talk about how he's been the spider and the snake and et cetera analogies. And people will be like, no, you weren't. And I'm concerned about that. Like at this point, I have Andy in like a top 3 winner potential, but I would still put money more that he's like the Jake style losing finalist, which is to me like the most compelling spot to be in. And I think that tracks, but I still think it's a good pick. It was just the roller coaster to get it back to being a good second pick has been crazy. And now it's like where it should be, but I'm sure you were sweating there for a little bit.
if this was the type of season format where we do redrafts mid-season, I think Andy gets picked ironically around where he got picked in this beginning of the season. Like he's a top tier pick. Chappell, you and I are acquainted with one Andy here. And when we got on stage to talk about him at the New York show this season, that was the episode where Andy put the hips in motion.
Yeah, freaking frog.
Listen, Andy's naughty, man. Andy's doing like what doing stuff with his tongue, doing stuff with his teeth, like
with his mouth. Andy, get your mouth off that ball, boy. What you doing? Yeah. Baby Andy did not come here to play with y'all, okay? Like you said, the star of many of the episodes, naming the episode, the he's all that moment is crazy. Like, what was the last time we just got like such a big character moment from a player that it's like almost aside from the game, it's just like they just gave Andy a segment to be Andy. And one of my favorite things about this is that we've heard rumors that there could be a player from this season coming back for Survivor 50, and I wouldn't count Andy out at all.
No, he can number one.
That'd be my top pick. Yeah.
Should we draft that?
Baby Andy could do this twice, y'all. Look, there's Andy Diaz Twine. Okay, let's do it. Let's get it. So good pick from Taran. I think a pick that, like I said, we all envy. I don't think any of us were going to have Andy low on our draft boards, but them's the breaks. This is the order we have to go off of. Pooya, you went third. And I thought you had a great third pick with
Yeah.
Tiyana.
I genuinely at that moment felt like, because coming into the draft, I was like, okay, I have a feeling first of all, if I'm in the top 2 picks, I'm going to end up with one of Asia or Andy. And then I knew who my number 1 pick was in my head if neither of them were on the season, or in my options, it was Tiyana. I did not regret this pick for a minute. I felt really good about this pick. And I guess ultimately to see her get all the way to, all right, we're all together. Psych, Rachel, get out of here. We're redoing the Tuku tribal, and having her go out there was heart-wrenching. And not even for the draft. You know, ultimately, as much as I do care about the draft, I want to win the draft, I want to brag about it. My heart ached just watching her meet her fate there and get voted out. That was a very tough watch to see Tiyana be this close to that jury and to be sniped out right before it happens.
Right. Survivor is far from fair, but I mean, everything we've heard from people on the show and their exit press say that if Rachel hadn't walked out that day with that safety without power, she would have gotten voted out, and Tiyana probably would have been here to fight another day.
Well, she
And
would have
so
got very, very, very twist screwed. But
right,
yes.
exactly. And so I mean, and some would say Tiyana got twist screwed. I mean, what safety without power? Just somebody handing it to
Yes.
the one person in the, it's
Tiyana got twist saved and then twist screwed
at the same
that's
time.
the new era. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then and it happened all within the span of like 15 minutes.
Right, but it happened so quickly. That is the new era, Shannon. It's the monster's coming for you, and I think it got Tiyana right before the merge or the jury phase or whatever.
But like with Tiyana, because she was going to be my third pick as well. Like Asia, Andy, Tiyana. Like as much as I can complain about Rob did badly and be mean to him. Like Asia, I obviously made a PowerPoint wanting Asia. John, Lovett, I wanted to get. I wasn't as high on Sierra, but like those first 2 picks, like I was going to take. So Tiyana, I was going to take third, but I feel like it wasn't just the twist. Like Tiana's game, I was surprised because I really came in very high on her. And then like the whole pre-merge, she was at the bottom. She didn't know that Gabe and Sue were close. Like she got Gabed. That's not great. Yeah. So her game wasn't like where I expected it to be for a third pick. I thought it was a great pick at the time. Very, very fair. But like Pooya, you should kind of like want some money back, I think, of how that went.
Yeah, Taran, your draft picks are going perfectly right now, but where did Tiyana fall for you on your draft board? Do you remember thinking that she was a great pick at the time?
I'd have to look at my
I have to look at her pet peeves.
rankings.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with Shannon though. Tiyana, there were some flaws. Trying to jump ship before it was time to jump ship definitely didn't do her any favors. But it didn't seem like that was going to be the thing that got rid of her right then. The Tukus went into the merge and the jury portion with 4 people, and it could have been 5. If not for the safety without power. So I think it was a solid pick. Pooya just, the new era is very unforgiving. And Liana will go on to pick Teeny next. I've had such a roller coaster ride with Teeny. I wanted Teeny to do well. Teeny recognizes Asia right off the bat. I'm like, yes, somebody's going to save Asia because, how could you not target Asia? Look at her. She's a big target. This is Asia. But also, she's great. Why would you not want to work with Asia? And we see Teeny battling with that same exact thing. We get the RHAP shout out, but also the power of Genevieve, the gravitational pull of Rome, his advantage that he had. There were so many things going, a certain way for the Teeny Asia relationship that they're not really able to salvage it. Teeny does end up voting out Asia. But since then, Taran, Teeny has had such a roller coaster ride in this game, specifically dealing with Genevieve, but just in general.
Yeah, I thought Teeny had a great start, and I think that like everything that you'd be hopeful for Teeny to have in terms of like game ability is there. They have a great social game, and I wouldn't say like bad strategic instincts either. I think that just they really, if you look at it all the way through, it's just been Genevieve has been the problem for Teeny. Genevieve has been such a thorn in their side from day one. Between the Asia thing and then eventually the Saul thing, it's really prevented Teeny from being able to really gain any momentum in the game. And I don't think they're like completely out of it, but it does feel like part of the story they're telling with Teeny is that they were just a little too trusting overall. And that I think was, in relation to the scene they had with Sam, who's the next pick, where Sam was like, yeah, I'm lying. And Teeny was like, oh, Sam wants to work with me. It's like, oof, that's they're trying to tell us something here.
Right. But Shannon, you've been reading the Edgic tea leaves.
I
think
one Edgic first. So, yes.
Right. But listen, I've heard you mention that the Teeny edit is not a bad edit for a winner.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Teeny edit is great. I think Teeny has the best edit of the edits left, because if like Andy has the most OTT edit, but I feel like that could just be Andy. The most like considered edit I feel like is Teeny, and we're talking about this on the global B&B collab. Like Liana feels Teeny's edit is a little too like broad story versus like personal story. I feel like it's a little bit too maybe just like story versus strategy. But I also feel like the strategy has been lacking. So if your winner has been out of it until now and then is going to be the Teenix rising from the ashes but hasn't started rising yet and it was in the fire for the last few episodes, you have to maybe make it on broader narration or more personal content. And I feel like that's where Teeny has been. I feel like the edit's very much there. I think the jury's there, right? Like Sierra, Soul would vote for Teeny. They're starting it off. Likeable, will be well-spoken, I think can have it, but the game hasn't been there. And I think that the edit has done a lot to defend Teeny to this point and keep you still invested in their story. So I think the edit is there. Like I have Teeny second on my winner predictions right now from an edit and game perspective, because I think the game's now opened up to be pretty good for Teeny. So yeah, Liana hanging in there. I feel like Liana was going to come to this, right? Like 2 weeks ago, she said she was free, but then like something happened. Maybe something happened.
Somebody got eliminated.
I can share this now, but we didn't want to
week.
say anything in case like her mom was going to be listening to any content, but she went home to surprise her mom for Thanksgiving. So
I was just trying to be funny because she got,
Gabe
boots back to back.
on,
But now I feel terrible because that sounds really sweet.
Yeah, how do you
nice.
feel, Shannon? Huh?
Happy Thanksgiving, Liana's mom. I don't have Thanksgiving here, okay? So it's not fair.
Well, the thing is, right? 2 weeks ago, we were in a situation where Taran and Liana had full teams. And I was like, the rest of us look ridiculous. And then Liana lost 2 back-to-back and is on the same island as the rest of us pretty much.
And Genevieve and Kyle also, never count your chickens, but they're probably the next 2 kind of targets. So hopefully Taran suffers the same fate.
Why?
Hopefully.
I mean, let's try on each other's downfall. Let's
spread the wealth. Let's spread the wealth. I like to keep it even.
I literally spend most of my time praying for all of your downfalls in the draft and otherwise. Like, as if you guys don't know me.
I think it's fair. Pooya, Teeny has not played a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination, but neither did Kenzie, right? And I think a lot of, like, when you look back at Kenzie's game last season, the social bonds that Kenzie made really allowed her to win against, some of the more strategic movers and shakers in the game. Could you see something like that happening for Teeny this time?
It's definitely possible. I mean, ultimately, this is to me, the story has been Teeny feels good, loses key ally, has to reboot, has to pick up every new piece, right? Loses Kishan, reboot, pick up pieces. Teeny feeling good. Now meeting everybody else, feeling good, has made some bonds, good, has an amulet, good. And then boom, Saul gets clipped now and is kind of on an island, feels betrayed by the one other person they've been there with the entire time. So I feel like Teeny's shown multiple times now, I can pick it all back up and I can try again. I don't got that quit. Even when I feel down, I'm not out completely. So I can definitely see that. Ultimately, I don't know. I think she's not out the running as the winner by any stretch of the imagination. But it's looking like a very upwards climb as of right now for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Next up, I got to pick. And full transparency, at this point, I was choosing between Sam and Rachel. They were both the highest people not from RHAP world that I wanted to pick. So Asia, Andy, Sam, and Rachel were my top 4 people. And so I had to decide. And Sam's bio just jumped out at me because I said this then and I stand by it. He really was talking about the game the way I see the game. And so everything that Sam has done in the game, I've completely understood. I don't necessarily think they were all right decisions, but it felt like Chappell decisions for sure. So I've been enjoying seeing Sam play. But one of the things that I guess is kind of a little disappointing to me is that nobody is talking about Sam as the winner, and I'm like really hoping that
Yeah.
Sam is the winner.
I feel like I've been talking about Sam as the winner since
Really?
like episode 1. I felt like since he said glue guy, I was like, I feel like this guy
That's
could
a
be
quote.
the
He
winner.
hasn't been the glue guy.
But he said it.
He has been.
I mean,
and he said-
I feel like Sierra was the glue girl, and then they said that Rachel was the glue. Again, has anyone else said this, or does Sam just say it about himself?
Listen, sometimes you got to make your own winner quote, but I think that at this point, you know, people are talking about the edit is so good for Teeny, the Edgic is pointing to Andy, Genevieve's an all-time social player, Kyle's got this immunity run. My boy Sam is holding on. So Taran, do you still feel that way? Do you think Sam is one of the front runners?
I feel like Sam is still in there with a good shot. I feel like his content has never been negative. He was always the one person on that tribe that was explicitly protected from the Andy stuff. He was always the guy that, like, even though they kind of implied that everyone was looking down on Andy, Sam was always the one that they would make sure they went out of their way to be like, but not Sam, or like, hey, Rachel and Sierra are like, think this of me. And it's like, where is Sam's name in that? You know? And so that to me was always like very pointed in that direction. Now I will say in regard to Rachel, I feel like they've done work to like reconcile her and Andy. So I think that she's now healed from that. But I thought Sam was just always protected from it in the first place. And he's just always, he's a good narrator, which is maybe why he's getting a lot of content. But like, he's also like very active. I've seen some people say he might be like the Jake or the Owen edit, or that Teeny might be that. But I don't see it because he's trying, right? He tried with the vote before and didn't happen, but this time it did happen. Like he got Gabe out, like they gave the credit to him. And so I feel like he's definitely still in there with a shot.
Yeah, that's more of a win than like Owen and Jake were getting. I feel like that is not, and that's just not how people perceive someone like Sam, just from like a perception and demographic perspective. I feel like because he's such like a kind of a leading guy, like him just getting to the end, people would be impressed, even if it's just on survival. If they fully depower him, I was saying like if he lost his vote and they voted out like a Rachel, then you could kind of go on the narrative. But I don't think the losses have been heavy enough to like really depower that perception. But Chappell, I have to train you in the ways of relying on a big, strong guy to win. I have to be like your Yoda in this. And like, I need to let you know, like big, strong guys around the final 6-4, they will. I think that worked. Yeah, I feel like he's just going to get clipped around like the end game, and I can tell you why I know that, because it happens to me every year. So that's probably that's how I see it for Sam. But I think he's like playing as well he can to this point, coming back from where he was. So
Pooya, do I still have a chance to win the draft with Sam?
It's not looking great, bro. Like it's not. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it's done, right? I think arguably, to me, of all the teams left, I think your team is the second most likely of the rest of us to win.
How is that possible?
I mean, mathematically,
Shannon, first of all, it's my personal opinion, right? Second of all,
it's a bad opinion. I'm allowed to call out bad opinion.
You have had some.
I'm
Literally, Shannon, your odds of winning this season have gone up a lot, and don't think I've not noticed that you're not going to win one of your many jacked dude picks. We literally
we will get to that.
Chappell picked Sam and said I'm saving you from yourself, and you might win the draft because of Chappell. So
I would have still taken Rachel. I would have taken Rachel.
You would not if I had taken
TK. I had a one strong buff guy spot, and I used it on TK. I wanted to use it on Sam. I would have had Rachel and Sam.
Likely story.
No, but I was going to take, if I had taken Rachel, then who were you going to take?
Right at that point.
Exactly.
Honestly, I will say it, and I know that it's easy to say, and she's not even going to win. So it's what I think Genevieve. I said she was sparkly. Go back and check the tapes. I felt really good about Genevieve, and I probably like Sam and Genevieve. If I couldn't get like Rachel, TK, that's why I wouldn't have taken TK and Sam, because of you would have made fun of me, and I'm so sensitive.
I mean, we are. Well, we're still here. We're going to make fun of you regardless. So this is the first time that Shannon has
wait. We didn't go back to the crazy take of Pooya saying that Chappell has the second best team.
Because I don't think it's a crazy take, so we're moving on. So we are going to talk about.
I need to explain that take.
I think no. Wait, I'm fine to explain that, because I feel like as of like maybe an episode and a half ago, I really felt that way. I did watch this last week's episode today because I was out of town for that one. So obviously that has changed since. But I don't think it's a wild take to say that Sam and Caroline were looking very good about like an episode a round ago for me.
I feel like they're exactly mid. Like,
so who is second for you of the teams remaining?
I mean, I guess Liana. Like me, Liana, Taran, Chappell, you, Rob.
Okay. Well, I mean, we could still talk about the rest of the players. Listen, Shannon, you had to pick a woman this time. I left you no choice, and it worked out. It looks like men. You definitely could have, but we gave you a shot here. You went against your instincts and your urges, and you said, okay, I'm going to support women. And Rachel has had the ride of a lifetime here as well. She starts off in a tribe and she thinks she's in a dominant position. They have her snowed for several vote outs because they get rid of John Lovett. And then it's like, okay, Rachel and the crew are just going to string Andy along. But then Andy starts to take control of whatever that alliance is, along with Sam and Sierra. And Rachel finds herself on the outs watching a couple of her allies go down. And then she starts to kind of emerge now in the post-merge where she's got an advantage here. She gets saved by Saul. She's not the biggest target. But to me, I feel like maybe Rachel is in a spot where she could win, but I don't think she's a standout as somebody who, if you put her up against somebody like Sam, for instance, like how does she get the votes over Sam? How does she get the votes over, a Genevieve?
She's not sitting with Sam, Chappell. He's going in the top 6. I don't know what to tell you.
Listen,
she's not sitting next to Genevieve either.
You think that Rachel has a really good chance of winning the game, almost as good as Tini and Andy?
I think she has the best chance, right?
The best chance. So tell me why.
Incredibly cocky. I think on game and edit, Rachel's got it. Because Tini's, as we said, maybe I think Tini does have the best edit, but is a little personal by necessity due to the game not being there. Andy's, I think, is OTT, as I've said, for the reason of losing finalists, compelling, like Andy specific, but they're still both good. But Rachel, I feel like, is getting a lot of game stuff. She gets the chance to even explain how she's gauging the shot in the dark. I mean, there are a lot of casuals who probably didn't understand what she even meant by that, but they gave her the time. And I feel like from a game position, I can imagine her sitting at the end talking about things like the shot in the dark move, which people will love, and the rice move, and she still has an idol, and I think she has runway in front of her, and I think she's smart enough to do it and to talk about it, and I think that the edit is there, and I feel like she's my number 1 pick right now, and I'm just feeling so excited about it, and I'm poised for a really big fall because I'm so excited about it.
Right. I'm really rooting for Rachel to go a little bit further, just so your fall is a lot more epic, but I like Rachel, and so it's really hard to root against her. Pooya, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I'm about to say something that's the opposite of what you're about to say. I am not upset at a world where Rachel wins and by proxy Shannon wins the draft, and here's why. I just think it is just statistically ridiculous, this idea that we will be entering 48, Survivor 48, with no one having won twice. Now I know, Taran, I know you had 2 first place.
Oh, it's not even about me,
right?
Yeah.
But I think obviously Rob coming in as proxy, taking in the grenade rule, taking the win there. I just think it's just wild to think that we'll get to 48. Asia comes back to the draft and no one has won more than one.
Yeah, what are the odds of that? Can someone calculate the odds of that? I mean, it'd be very difficult because like Rob coming in for 2 seasons is an anomaly. Got it out.
We've had a couple statistical anomalies.
That would be crazy, actually. If it was 7
7
seasons of 7 people ever drafting and we all won 1, I think that would be highly, highly statistically improbable. And I really want to know
after that
how much.
It took the grenade rule to stop me from winning twice. It makes more sense.
Which, Taran, I tried to get the grenade rule removed after 41. Y'all didn't let it happen. So you could have been the 2-timer here.
Listen,
I was down
I'm
with getting
with my
rule.
spiritual win. You know what I mean?
Well, I think in the event, Shannon, that you do win, first of all, congratulations for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
But I think then the next thing I'll be looking for is, do we get a repeated order where then Taran wins 48, Chappell wins 49?
You have to make me wait again.
That would be ridiculous. We'd have to if 2 of you, if like that order starts forming, we might have to disband. This might be too much power.
Well, but then what? Taran goes back on Survivor.
No, Taran has to go on Survivor at that point, and then Rob will come in. So it'll work itself out. But I'll say this: as much trash that I'm talking, Shannon, if I'm going to support you winning any draft, this is the one, because Rachel is so good. I like her so much. So watching her play the game is so cool as well. So it's kind of like, if you got to win one, I could give you this one. But, deep down, I'm kind of hoping that you don't win.
That's mean. Well, it was almost done. Like, I mean, yeah, Kishan and TK, like, what I really wanted at that point, because it didn't look like Rachel had the winner edit early,
No.
and I was like, I just need her to only lose to Sierra by 1, so that at least Rob would have the worst average draft placement. But Sierra's gone, Rachel might win, and she was almost out the door. She was, with Tuku in that group, and I was like, oh, it's done. And then she got saved by the gods being Sol, and I'm just so excited to still be here with you guys.
Yeah, I feel like I was looking at Teeny and Sam as the front runners for a long time, and I feel like Teeny has fallen out of winner at a decent amount. I think Sam has lost some luster, and I really feel like Rachel and Andy were the two that have kind of like risen. Genevieve also, but Genevieve had a rough episode this week. So to me, it is starting to feel like it could definitely be Rachel, especially because they're attaching like a huge portion of her story to Andy. Like, I feel like she keeps talking again, like healing the thing about Andy, like, oh, Andy and I have had such a similar journey over the course of this season. And it's like, I don't know if I see that, but like, sure. Like, I think edit wise, it feels like they're trying to tie this together because Andy feels like kind of like story A for the season, and they're trying to like tie the winner into it to some degree. I think also that like part of the reason why I wasn't looking at her in the start was because they had her like dismissing Andy so much, and I felt like, would they have that? But again, because she's now sort of reconciling with Andy, I think it makes more sense. She's shown to be a very smart player, and she's had a lot of good content in the back half. So I definitely think she's a top contender at this point. I don't think anybody's a perfect candidate, and I think that she is very much up there.
Yeah, a couple of things from the chat. Firstly, Matt Benjamin says that the quick math is around 0.61198, etc., to get 7 different winners out of 7 drafters. I can't check that math, but I'm just gonna take that at face value. So that would be crazy. And then Wild West says, I think the players on the island that respect Rachel are Genevieve, Caroline, maybe Andy. We've seen a lot of people respect Rachel. Like when Caroline says that, as for example, like the Tuku Tribal Council, I feel like everyone's agreeing. Gabe is on the jury. He was saying that like Rachel's such a huge threat. Like definitely the perception is very much there. So she's gonna win.
I see it.
This is gonna be my time.
And that was Rachel's driving force in trying to get Genevieve out this week as well. She's like, Genevieve sees me as who I, as the threat that I am. And so, if Rachel gets to the end, maybe the rest of them will see it too. The next pick, I think, did we do a snake? We did a snake, right? So Shannon, it was your pick again. So we had the loss of TK early on in the game.
I wasn't feeling great about that.
Big, strong guy.
Yeah.
But TK had an interesting, kind of trajectory in the game. He forges his own path in episode 1, something that Asia was supposed to do. And then he goes on to get eliminated because of the way maybe he was dealing with his team, maybe the way he was dealing with Tiyana. He called his team losers. And I don't think they really went for that. And it's sort of pushed him out while Gabe was trying to get pushed in. Were you surprised at how fast TK went, Shannon?
No, I thought he'd go second, so that's why I drafted him. Of course I was surprised. I was pretty upset about it. And it was really just not going extremely well. Especially because I feel like it was like he did that to himself.
Yeah.
Like with other people, you're like, well, it's a tough situation. Even like Kishan, I'm like, okay, well, it was there, I mean, even though I got him last, but like, I don't hugely blame him. Whereas just like TK, I feel like he did a lot of that and put people off. So I'm pretty upset about it.
Yeah, Taran, you shocked by TK's placement this time? Was he like the first person voted off of his tribe?
He went second, Chappell.
I'm just listen. I'm just remembering. I don't have the data in front of me.
You don't even remember that long ago when TK went.
Which
listen,
tribe
everything
was
before
TK
Asia
on?
left, it was
the first of his tribe. They only went one time to tribal council. Are you guys watching the season?
Was that Gabe's tribe?
That was Gabe's tribe. Yes.
Okay.
You guys are invested, and I appreciate that.
Listen, I had TK really low on my pet peeves list, so.
What was it?
I don't remember.
I don't remember what it was.
Was it people losing at challenges, not trying hard enough in challenges?
Clearly, he does not like that. That was enough to get him sent home. Pooya, I like TK. I was really hoping that we could see more of him if he got later on in the game, but it seemed like he just got outplayed.
He did. I mean, ultimately, going out that in the early run, you'd imagine someone of his stature would be kept for the physical components of the challenges. They didn't need that. He ended up on a tribe where they're like, we're good, man. Goodbye. And I think ultimately, I also had him lower on my list. He didn't quite speak to me, but I did not expect him to go out second. I kind of thought he'd be like right around where we get our like 12th, 11th exits. That's kind of where I had him pegged.
Yeah, he really did well for the average draft placement.
Yeah, I could have saw him making the merge for sure. My next pick was Annika. And I was so happy with my Annika pick. I was very proud of this pick coming out of the draft. I was like, man, y'all got me messed up because I got a sleeper pick on y'all. And then the game started. And it's like, hey, you know who Sam's number one enemy is? Annika. I was like, oh, wow, this is tough. Why did I draft two people from the same tribe? What was I doing? And so it was like a slow march to find out which one of them gets the other one out. But the Annika blindside, it's probably one of the high points of the season for us, Pooya. We were live watching that happen, and that's how you exit, okay? You milk that moment for all it's worth and make people remember you.
And memorable it was, man. Now, not just because we got to watch it live and that pause in between Annika looking back and staring down the rest of the tribe and the reaction in the room erupting. That aside, Annika was a very fun character, and I was so broken to see her leave early. I thought we could have gotten a lot out of Annika. I think Annika was a great character on the show. Ultimately, for me, it was like, well, I want Andy to stay. So then Annika got to go if that's the other option. And I do wish we got more of her. But when you picked Annika where you did, I wasn't mad at that pick at all. I thought it was a great spot. And I think I had Annika. I had Annika going further than TK. So for what it's worth.
Well, she did. Taran, I can't imagine you were rooting for Annika too much considering her number
does that
one
mean
target
you
was
care
Andy.
about what her placement was in the season?
I think we don't care about the average draft placement overall. I think we just like to see how people do. You know, I think no one brings that up except you. Except this time. This was the first time I actually ever heard Taran mention it.
We're going to get into it a bit later, but I will say one of my people, Michael O'Brien on Blue Sky, I've sent Sam a link to put up. Michael O'Brien says, as you can see, I can just read it to you. Will this episode have an update on the new era average draft placement standings? It will. We have a spreadsheet coming, Michael. Please stay tuned. You know, the only metric that means anything, anyone can get lucky once. True. Consistently picking great players across multiple seasons is a skill. We will be getting to it. So that's just a teaser for later on in the podcast.
I just don't think we have the time. Is there anything else you want to add about Annika specifically?
Let's yada yada Gabe and Rome wasn't really important.
We've said a lot about Annika already, but we could talk about Liana's pick, Gabe, because he was a big portion of the season as well. A big star coming out the gate. He told us he wanted to be on the Mount Rushmore of survivors, the new era or the whole era or whatever he said. But do we think he accomplished that? Shannon, what do you think about Gabe overall?
I mean, do I think he's on the new era Mount Rushmore?
Yeah.
Well, he'll be back.
He said he's coming back.
I think that's very tough. I don't know that anyone on the season right now is on the new era Mount Rushmore. Maybe Andy could get there. Yeah. But I mean, I do have a spot like open on the new era Mount Rushmore, but I also have multiple seasons left.
What are your other three?
Yeah, you got to tell us.
Carolyn, Marianne, and Q were the three I've always kind of had on my new era Mount Rushmore. And then there's been, Emily Flippin, Shan. There's a lot of people who could kind of go into that fourth spot.
That's tough. I'm like the Shan, Marianne, Jam.
I was gonna say Jam's
in the mix, but like I don't have a clear fourth. That's the three for me. I mean, look, it's tough to get into the new era Mount Rushmore.
I don't know about you guys. I have Asia.
Look,
it's
weird
weird that you guys seem to be missing one.
Too, so.
Yeah, no, that's a good pick. Again, I'm not shocked that Shannon's leaving Asia off, for reasons. But
Marianne and Carolyn.
I said for reasons. But Taran, Gabe said he will be back. You think so?
I kind of feel for Gabe. I feel like he was out there, playing the game, doing his thing. And ultimately came up short. I think the edit decided he wasn't super important, and I think he probably had this moment of like watching the show and realizing, man, I wasn't really the character that I was hoping I would be. So I feel for him, but the answer is no. I don't think he'll be back. I don't think they took what he was given.
I think you got a decent villain. We don't really do villains in the new era like that. We know Jeff's not a big fan of bringing people on just for conflict, but I think that this was like a palatable villain. He didn't say anything too egregious or do anything too Hansian, even though he wanted to give a shout out to Russell Hantz a little bit. I don't think it ever got that real for him, but I think that he made a valiant effort. If he gets through this most recent vote with 4 people, then I think he has a good shot at going to the end of the game. But it was a gamble that didn't necessarily pay off. Pooya, you got any final words for Gabe?
I just remember when Liana picked Gabe here, a lot of people gave her crap for making a huge mistake, and she was like, I think he's a good pick. I'm not gonna take that back. And I think ultimately, looking at some of the people that went out before Gabe, she kind of nailed it there. So kudos for her.
Yeah, he did it. He did it.
Average draft placement.
No one talks.
Did well.
Shannon, as former winners here, if you're about to join the winners circle, you gotta realize.
You gotta cut it out.
Gonna see at the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Once you win one of these, that goes out the window. You cannot.
Let's see. Once we bring the spreadsheet up, we'll talk about it. There is a spreadsheet. I sent it to Sam in the private chat, and a lot of people in the chat. Let's see what the chat is saying. I can't put it on the screen, and you guys won't, which is unfair.
Just like you can't put an imaginary
spreadsheet
on the screen. Like, so make sure y'all DM Shannon for whatever this data
it is
going to
happen. Let's get to Rome, and then we'll get to.
Well, let's talk about Rome. Rome. Very polarizing character this season. Obviously, he comes out. He's a big character, but he's pretty anti-Asia from moment one, and didn't like that. He also gave a shout out to the RHAP family after Asia's elimination. Didn't love that, but the Rome roller coaster was crazy. We saw all aspects of Rome. His huge personality. We saw him as a strategist. We saw him as a challenge competitor, and I think he has what it takes to be like an all-time character if he were ever to play again, but he got clipped in the pre-merge. And so I think we got our role while we had it. And then, was it a pre-merge, Shannon? Did he make the merge?
I don't know. And so it's
hard to know.
Every single thing in the new era has an asterisk. The merge has an asterisk. The challenges have an asterisk. Like, that just is the new era. That's what we need to start talking about. Is there one asterisk-free aspect of the new era? Maybe not. So stats become impossible, and that's fine for me personally. That's not something at all that I care about. So he was with a group of people, and they all voted him out. So
and they all voted him out.
Pretty mergy to me.
Taran, what's the most memorable moment you have from
Rome? When he got voted out.
Yeah, it's a big moment.
He sat in the chair.
He sat in the chair.
It was genuinely a cool moment. I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I know
thought that
Rome
was
like a villain,
Jeff
but
has ever done.
Yeah, it was just like a cool moment to see somebody who was such a big fan have like a moment as they're being voted out to like have that thing. And I thought it was cool.
Love that for him. His Twitter name is @RomeTheHost. And so Jeff literally let him sit in his chair and host. We've never seen Jeff act like this before. Spicy Jeff is gone. I don't care what anybody says. Pooya, for me, I will never forget Rome and his challenge competitions, because he had some good showings, and then there's some times where he's just doing a puzzle by himself and we're just like, what's going on? Rome was a lot of things, but he was definitely a character that made you feel something.
Oh, for sure. Whether it was a very negative reaction or in the first week when he was head first, half his body in the well, like he definitely was A, polarizing, B, very talked about, and C, I think if there ever was to be a heroes versus villains too, he's top of the ballot for the villains. I really do think that if they're going to bring a villain from the new era, he is the number one pick of villain in the new era, easily.
And he would relish it. I think that's the other thing about Rome is he would embrace the title of villain in a way that you would want a villain to embrace it, right? Like, you don't want them to be a reluctant villain. You want them to come in and say, "No, I'm going to slit their necks and then floss my teeth with their jugulars." And speaking of, Taran, your next pick. I think this person could be a shoo-in for a villain if she ever came back to play. You drafted Genevieve, and again, for the first couple episodes, I know you were kind of questioning this pick.
I mean, I don't think I questioned the Genevieve pick personally. I mean, I was worried that she wasn't the winner. I didn't think she was the winner, but I still.
Why did you draft her? Oh, for average draft.
No, he meant he didn't see her on the show, and he liked her pet peeve. Gosh, come on, Shannon, please.
Yeah, exactly. I like the Andy Teeny one was like, maybe I should have gone the other way, because quite frankly, though those two were not based on pet peeves. Those two were based on the fact that they were, that I knew them.
What? What? That nothing has meaning. That's my pet peeve now.
Well, if we're gonna be real, my grenade pick was also based on, although I didn't have any pet peeves then, but that was also based on the fact that I'd met Jelinski and I.
Yeah, and you had
And
met
you
two
thought this guy's
people.
gonna win.
Yeah, Taran had met two people.
I met the winner and the grenade, and I drafted them both.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a you
That's
thing.
funny.
Maybe you're like some sort of Gus.
Listen, to tell me, you've met this person in person. You have a pick between that one person and one other person left in the draft.
Yeah.
You're going to make them the last pick, having
Fair
met
enough.
them.
To be fair,
Right.
I did this with Claire, and that didn't go well. And maybe we should stop drafting people on that metric. I think it's actually a very bad way to go.
Doesn't seem that way for Taran and Andy. It seems like everything's going great over there.
Fair enough. That might be the exception that proves the rule. Otherwise, it hasn't gone well.
Genevieve, though, I think her pet peeves turned out to be exactly correct. That she is sharp, she is cutthroat, and she is just as deadly as I hoped she would be based on her pet peeves about airports. In fact, when I met her cousin, she grilled me about my airport etiquette. So,
What is it?
Yeah, well, the problem is that Genevieve's pet peeve is Taran. She doesn't like people who line up before it's their turn to get on the airplane. And Taran is the first one in line. Boarding group A, okay?
Imagine if it was
group.
just Taran. If you ever see that as a pet peeve, will you draft that person out of pure respect? Or will that be like, wait, no, screw you forever?
Live feed updates.
What I will say is,
Yeah.
there are at least 4 people who thought about me when writing their pet peeves this season.
What, really?
It was a
Your
heavy one.
impact. But
Yeah,
can
it
we say as well, and this is important, Andy's pet peeve was cherry pick stats. And now, as we're saying, the stats of the new era are always cherry picked. Like even just like Kyle's immunity run.
Yeah, like Shannon's average
no,
draft
average
placement.
draft,
We're gonna
whatever.
get to I'm
Yeah.
actually able to
average
share my
draft placement.
screen later on. So
You
I've actually
really
organized that
can.
myself.
You really
You
shouldn't
just
be
have to
allowed
put it on the
to.
screen
I'll
later.
make sure that we don't.
No,
So
we will keep on
Pooya,
asking for it.
for the sake
See
of the
when it comes.
gameplay, Genevieve, she's made some fun moves, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What's Genevieve's claim to fame for this season?
What's like the crowning achievement?
What is her biggest moment? Yeah.
Whew, that's tough, you know. I feel like there's
so
been there's been a lot. There's been a lot. Like where I think for me though, it has to be. You always remember the first. And the Kishan ouster, I think, was my favorite of her moves because the realization of like, he can go, he's expendable. That was great. Because I was one of the people, I was in the camp of, I don't know if the Saul boot is for you. Like, I don't know if that's something you need to happen right now. But I think the thing I've loved about Genevieve, and I think this is true when they give you the edit they give you in the beginning, is that my expectations for Genevieve were very low, especially after Genevieve's entire arc for the first 3 episodes was, I like Rome, I'm going to work with him. And then we just don't hear from her for 3 episodes. So to then see this player that's been hiding in plain sight really make her appearance onto the game to the point where there is respect there and there is genuine fear in the heart of some of these players. They do not. Hey, listen, the Canadians are back, Chappell. Okay. The Canadians are doing it.
I think the best Genevieve moment is Rome and Teeny coming to her being like, they're trying to get out Rome, Genevieve. And her being like, oh man, sucks.
Yeah. Ooh, what are we going to do?
Or sorry, not Rome. They're trying to get out Saul.
Yeah. The facial expressions in the last tribal council as well, her versus Gabe. It's all been fun. But to your point, Pooya, the Canadians be doing the things in the new era. And that bodes well for Taran as the person who drafted the Canadians. So yeah, we will see what happens there. I don't have a lot to say about John Lovett. I wasn't a fan going into the season, so I didn't really know him too much. So when Rob picked him, I was very surprised.
He was dead last on my pet peeve list.
Yeah. Shannon, did you have
such a good bio?
John Lovett?
What not a good pet peeve?
What
you
was
gotta
it?
go with the good pet peeve.
He was the one that teased me with all the he's like, I've
right.
got too many pet peeves to list.
Yeah,
but
I'm
here's a
walking
couple
pet
of them.
peeve.
And it's like 2 of
Yeah, I
them.
love
He's
that.
like, yeah, it was just like, no. It's,
I love people who have a lot of pet peeves. I literally mentioned my pet peeves in my wedding speech for my brother 2 weeks ago, Taran.
That's what I'm saying. Don't be like, oh man, I'm full of pet peeves. You know, like you know, people who use their phones at red lights.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
That's
like
it. And it's like, what?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More.
It's like someone who's like, I'm a big movie person. I love movies. Okay, what's your favorite movie? And it's the most obvious.
The Dark Knight.
Right. It's like, come on.
It's like, that's it? That's all you
The
got?
Dark Knight, it's a great movie.
Yeah, but like,
yeah,
are
that
you
is true. I am working on my pet peeve master list.
Okay.
That I'm gonna send you, Taran, once it's ready. It's gonna be categorized. I searched pet peeve in my chat with my brother, and 37 hits came up.
Ooh.
So I need to like scroll through that and make sure they're all there, and then like have the actual list, so that when I say I'm someone who's full of pet peeves, it's not just generic and vague. It's very specific and like warranted. So yeah, I get it.
Can I just say, I'm looking at the one right now. Was this article edited?
I think they added some after the fact.
They added some after the fact. That's not the article that we got originally.
Yeah.
What?
We had two
Because I'm
separate.
seeing,
We had
like,
two
if I
separate
read this
pet
one,
peeve
I would
lists.
be a little happier with his pet
What
peeves.
was it? What is it?
Because he said people who cut lines and then act confused. I think that was one of the ones that was originally there. People who bring a full cart to self-checkout at the grocery store. People who use their phones at red lights. And I'm sorry, but people who are obsessed with horoscopes. You aren't single because of Mercury.
Yeah.
Pretty good one.
Decent. No, we had
Good.
we had two different articles with pet peeves. That was the second one that dropped. He described himself as a gay Larry David, and I was thinking Larry David cannot win Survivor, but a lot of people, Shannon, were very surprised that John was not the winner of the season. A lot of people were saying, like, I only was watching the show to see John. I'm leaving now. Were you shocked by John's placement?
Yeah, they love it or left it. Right,
Yeah.
that's the thing. I said I would have drafted John Lovett. I was saying that I hoped that he would fall to me in last place, and I thought that he might have based on how the drafts were going. And you know, I was a Mike White voice fan of John Lovett. I thought he was really fun narrator. He's like a huge character who gave up his time, a huge personality in the world who gave up his time to be on Survivor. And I think he could have been great. And I don't think him leaving makes a ton of sense. Like at the time, I was like, they should have got rid of Andy. And like, I might stand by that, considering I think that they kept Andy for physical reasons. That hasn't panned out. And he's like,
tell that to the editors.
Yeah, for the challenges, like for the actual benefit of the challenges, if that's what they want, maybe it's panned out. For the actual tribe mates trying to win, I don't think they were winning with Andy, and now he's got like a vendetta list, you know, he has had against them. So I probably would have stuck with John, and I don't really think it was his fault that he went. And I think like he was kind of like I didn't think that it was so earned. Like TK was earned as a second pick. Like John, I didn't feel was super earned, and I would have taken him. And I'm not harsh on Rob for that, but I'll still make fun of him, and that's where I sit with it.
Yeah, we do have to continue making fun of Rob a little bit, but I'll go easy on him with this pick as well. Sierra, I think is a solid pick. I think that we see at when the merge actually starts, right? When we actually get not the pre-merge, not the mergatory, but when we get to the jury phase of the game, right? Sierra is looked at as, okay, her and Sam are a duo, but also she is the bigger threat. You know, people are still talking about, like, if we were voting out the weaker people, Sierra would not be sitting on the jury. I think that she had a good showing. She clearly was in a power position in her tribe. She's got good social relationships, and I think she could have done well, but, you know, the numbers just weren't in her favor, and she went. Does anybody have any strong feelings about Sierra as a player, or is she more just, like, tied to Sam's legacy as this duo, Pooya?
No, to me, there was definitely more to Sierra than just that. I feel like, for one, watching her individual relationship with Andy was very fascinating to me. She ends up being the person that Andy gives the shot in the dark to as collateral. I feel like there was like a little bit, not a long time, but there was a little bit in that right before we all group up where I was like, you know, there's a world where we might have to break out the stat sheets to see who gets second place this season. Like, I wasn't out on her as having potential to get the crown. That was short-lived, obviously, and then the boot happens anyway. But I think she was a player with quite a bit of potential. And I'm not going to lie to you, Sierra was very low on my list. Very low, to the point where when Rob picked John Sierra back-to-back, I was like, is Rob just like doesn't even care? Like, what's going on here? Because I was definitely very skeptical, but I was proven wrong. I think Sierra is a worthy player.
Okay. Yes. I was a big fan of Sierra as well. We then move on to Taran's pick of Kyle, and Kyle was pretty low on my list. I think he might have been pretty close to last. I think maybe John Lovett was last, but I think Kyle was maybe the last person on my list. I just didn't see it. I had no clue, Shannon, that we were about to deal with somebody who was going to win on the track to win the most immunities in Survivor history with an asterisk. Are we cherry picking
three different asterisks? But again, it's not his fault. It's a new era's fault. Everything is an asterisk. You know, everything's not what it says it is. New era records are different. I think that's maybe where I have to sit with it after days about just really seething with this. Yeah, I mean, Carl was low for me because I thought, you know, too nice for the game. And that has been the edit. I don't think I thought challenge beast necessarily.
Mhm.
So on average draft placement, he's gone pretty well. But is Kyle winning? I don't think we think Kyle is winning, right?
It would be tough. He would have to. We feel like he'd have to win a couple more challenges. Taran, this is your pick. What do you think about of your draft picks? Do you think Kyle has the least chance of winning?
At this point, yeah. I mean,
Of the
I don't
three that
think
you have in the game, which is such a flex.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think it's impossible. And honestly, if somebody won out via challenges, this is how I would want their edit to be, and not like One World. So that wouldn't be like the worst thing in the world, but it doesn't seem super likely at this point. What I did think was funny was like this whole thing about like, did Kyle say Tweedledee and Tweedledum?
I know.
Yeah, he did say it though, right?
This whole what I've seen is
so
like.
Important.
I knew it. He's not the guy we thought he was. Or like, I don't know, guys. I don't think he would have done that because he seems like a really nice guy. Meanwhile, I'm like, how is anybody even remotely? This sounds exactly like what he would say.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tweedledee and Tweedledum. That
That's
sounds like
terrible
exactly the kind of
that.
insult he would come
so
up
bad.
with. That's
Right.
because he's such a like a nice
Nice guy,
dude.
yeah.
That
I
he's
don't think
not gonna
that's
be like,
nice.
you're stupid.
That
he's
is
gonna be like, oh, you're
stupid.
Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
I mean,
You guys
I
are
don't-
so okay with being called Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and Mike
I
and
think-
Liana also were like, please call us that. I don't ever want anyone to call me Tweedledum. I will cry.
Okay.
There
Tweedledee,
are
slow
so
down.
many worse things out there to be called, though. Is the
Oh, but
point?
my skin is so
Right.
thin. Like I don't even want something that's much better than that. Probably.
Yeah, but like, that's the
beyond for
thing
me.
though. Even when Andy's talking about it, he goes, "Well, I didn't think that was very nice." Like that sounds just like an interaction that Andy and Kyle could have had, like Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and Andy's like, "Whew,
It
that
sounds
hurts,"
like the
you
sort
know?
of thing that Kyle would have said, like when in the middle of being very frustrated, like, "Oh man, I can't stand that Tweedledee and Tweedledum over there," Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
it's the
Everyone's
worst.
way
thing
too
to
gosh,
okay with it.
dumplings.
It's mean
Because
to
it's-
call someone Tweedledum. I will die on the hill.
It might be mean, but it's like the least mean.
What I'm
thing that
saying
you
is
can
it's
say about
less
somebody.
mean than most other things you can call people.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. It's
The
like
least mean thing.
someone stubbing their toe and saying "mother trucker." It's like
Yeah,
you're
like,
not
fart.
saying the thing. You're saying
Yeah.
you're saying the PG thing.
Right. So yeah, Kyle has an immunity run right now. I mean, he didn't win all the challenges. He hasn't even won all the challenges that he won immunity on, but he got immunity, and that's the point. He got 4 immunity wins thus far. We know that there's 5 guys with 5 immunity wins that would be in front of him stat wise, but I mean, he wins this one, he would only have to win one more to be the ultimate, I guess, the person with the most immunity wins in Survivor history, and that's something to talk about. I think if he makes it to the end, he would have a good chance to win the game because when you win a bunch of immunities, you don't have to betray a lot of people either. But one person who would find that really hard to deal with, who would be fighting tooth and nail to keep that from happening, would be Pooya's next pick, Sue. Pooya,
Tweedledee.
she hates Kyle.
Does she? I feel like they've not shown that on the show.
In the secret scenes, Pooya, she alluded to hating Kyle. She said,
Bro,
"You
Thinking you'll miss it.
There was a
Yeah.
whole montage in
Very,
this last
very, very-
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's funny is half of the next time on the week before as well was just the montage from this week.
Mhm.
It's so funny that these two are not on the same page at all, pretty much from the get-go, and are still both here, still cohabitating.
Mhm.
It's
It's
so
a little
funny
bit
to
of
me.
like the Ned Flanders thing, a little bit. Unless he's calling them Tweedledee and Tweedledum, although that does sound like an insult.
That sounds like
that
an
Ned
exact
Flanders
thing
might
Ned
use.
Flanders would say.
Well, he wouldn't. It's too mean for Ned Flanders.
No, but the deedly part is right there. It's
Yeah,
a Tweedledee and Tweedledum is Ned Flanders
Yeah,
verbatim.
that is true. But definitely the edit we're getting is like Carl. It's like, I hate him more than anything in the world. It cuts to Carl, and he's the most like unassuming, like innocuous person you've ever seen in your life. Which is
Mhm.
it's sad for Carl, but it is hilarious.
Yeah, but
it's
Sue is 45. She's an older woman in this game. Taryn, what do you think about her and this beef, but also her her ability to win the game at this point?
She's not winning. The edit is
tough.
not there.
Yeah.
Hasn't been there for a while,
Sorry,
but like
Pooya.
also that kind of montage, especially when we're supposed to kind of like Kyle, I think was definitely not meant to set her up for success in terms of perception. Yeah, I don't think it's happening. I will say I feel very good about my 2 picks after like losing out on Teeny, Sam, and Rachel, getting Genevieve and Kyle over basically the field there. I feel very good about.
Yeah, well, those were
Yeah.
literally the 2 next people in the game, so that's
Well,
Yeah,
we shall
I
see.
feel like to me, Sue being someone who's had an idol for forever now, and we're just not seeing. For me, I'm not seeing enough of Sue's thoughts on where the direction of things should go. I feel like initially it looked like, okay, Sue was kind of the main character of this alliance, and then we got to merge, and it promptly flipped to this is Caroline's alliance, and Sue is in it, and that really that shift combined with the fact that all we're getting from Sue is, oh yeah, let's hear back from Sue. Sue, I hate Kyle. All right, back to the studio. Thank you.
Sue.
Like that. Yeah, that's all we're getting from Sue right now. I think I'm about to end up with the very similar trajectory of where I was last season, which is probably third place at best. Is where Sue's headed.
Yeah,
be great for your average draft placement.
Well, that is true. But we're gonna get to the spreadsheet.
If you were Rob, last season you could still win.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But that's not
Shannon, we haven't talked about the dirt. Sue's contouring with this dirt. You are a former model. Tell me about it. Do you support this in Survivor? This feels like the best of both worlds for you. As a Survivor, it's modeling, it's makeup. Let's talk about it.
I don't love modeling and makeup. I don't know how to contour, but I know not to do that. It's the same way when people are like, we can't talk about Survivor because we've not been on. But like, I know what not to do if it's obvious. That's how I feel about the contouring. I think for contouring, you would probably need a mirror. I think that's very specific. And like makeup.
Hot take. I like it.
Okay. Let's hear about that.
Okay.
I think it's
why?
Cool.
What about it?
Well, you don't like paint war lines on your face to like look good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like I think it looks cool.
She's not trying to look good, so that's why it's.
She's trying to look
I'm
good.
not saying it still looks good. I guess what I'm saying, you're not doing like war lines to be like for like to be like, oh, I'm adhering to beauty standards. You do it because it looks cool, and I
like the aesthetic.
Yeah. She does look like she's playing Survivor, and I think that's one thing we might have lost in the new era since they're only there for a couple of days, is that like Sue looks like she's been playing the game. Okay, she's been playing the game, and so I love Sue. She's been a fun character, but yeah, I think you'd have to squint really hard to see a world where she wins the game. But crazier things have happened. We've seen some crazy wins in the new era. We have seen some crazy things in the new era.
I guess that is. This is the worst part about Gable's win, is that now nothing has meaning.
Nothing's
like, well, they can't do that. It's like, but Gable did it. It's like, well, then there's no bar or context to anything we've ever done. Also, there is no asterisk. I will say, winning the new era. I just want to. It's no.
Listen, we're all just making fun here. But listen, the Erica win was not something that was telegraphed. Taran had a great pick, and a lot of people did not see that coming. So I'm just saying that there's a way that they've been. And it would be okay, you know what I'm saying? So we'll see what happens there.
It wouldn't be crazier than Gabler at this point, though.
It would just be another crazy thing that happened, as far as I'm concerned. Just like chalk it up to the new era. That said, Liana had a pick that I thought was fine in the moment, but she might have picked one of the most popular Survivor contestants we've seen in a while. Because the Saul pick. I mean, people are talking about universally beloved. I mean, if Andy has to go up against somebody to come back for Survivor 50, I think he's going to have a run for his money if he's trying to win a popularity contest against Saul. Pooya, what did you think about the Saul pick in the moment, and how do you feel like it has aged since that day?
A little behind the scenes, while we were making our coffees before getting on the draft, Liana and I were kind of like talking back and forth what our thoughts were generally.
That's not cool.
I mean, listen, y'all can message each other, or you can call me. I'll allow it. No one wants to talk to me but my wife. So.
I think until two of us live together, you're gonna have to separate.
Is that another asterisk? Put the asterisk on both of them. Asterisk for Pooya, asterisk for Liana.
It's not cool. You guys are like Robin and Amber coming back and Winners of War together. Like, it's cute, but should it be allowed?
But should it be allowed? Anyway, so tell me what happened when y'all pre-gamed about Saul.
Yes, we pre-gamed the draft. So what happened was we both realized we're higher on Saul than what we've heard a lot of people be. Because a lot of people are like, I'm not seeing it. He's talking about having this energy. Where's the energy? And so I knew going in that we both like him. So when I picked Tiyana and Liana has this very audible reaction that she wanted Tiyana, I was like, I feel kind of bad, So we're getting to the backswing here. I'm looking at the 4 remaining, and I was like, I want Saul.
No!
I'm not about to do this to Liana again.
No!
I'm just going to pick Stu.
She'll that's end up with cool.
Saul. That's fine.
Not cool.
Why? Why is it not Shannon?
Because when we committed to doing the draft, we said we would put it before anything in our lives, including our spouses, okay? Do you think he'd have enjoyed having to deal about average draft placements?
I didn't sign no contract.
You don't have the contract?
Genuinely?
You didn't
Yeah.
get the contract?
No, I've been
Not
off the books, I guess.
No,
Oh,
very
well,
important.
Sam, what's
Listen,
going
Very
on? Why
important
doesn't
in your
we?
marriage.
If Pooya didn't get the
Sam?
contract, then his win is null. I think that's in
Yeah.
the fine print. Sorry, you have to have
Yeah,
signed
it
this in
was
blood.
Listen.
So it's
Wait,
tough.
so you let a pick go for
Yeah.
Shannon could not understand.
I don't
this type of
For
reason.
love.
I'm gonna tell you a true story. One
This
time
is
I was
this,
playing
this is how D won.
This is not D-word.
literally. Well, actually,
You
Pooya,
call me Austin? I'm Austin here.
You got Austin.
Pooya
You
would
did.
be out of
Well,
the
low
draft.
key, I mean, look though, Saul left, Sue's still there, so
No,
like
but still, Pooya,
It's a
you
moral
shouldn't give up.
victory at
You
best.
shouldn't give up a better pick for Liana that you want. One time I was playing Exploding Kittens with Peter, and I put the. Does anyone have someone play Exploding Kittens?
No.
Oh, it's really good. But I put the bomb back in a place where Peter immediately would go. And it was like a big game. He's like, now I'm going to have to sit out for like an hour. Why did you do that? I was like, it was strategically optimal. He's like, you don't always have to do the strategically optimal thing. And I was like, I don't understand what you're saying right now. It's
what's
like
the
you're speaking
question?
a
Yeah.
different language. And we went back and forth and it was a legitimate argument. So I don't get it, Pooya. I mean, I respect your marriage, but I don't understand it. I think that's where I'm at with it.
Well, I think ultimately for me, I was like, I want her to have Saul, and like I'm okay with that. I'm content.
What?
Yeah, why
Yeah.
not?
Is that
It's
true
like-
love?
Yeah, well, you know what's funny? You know what's funny though? If like, let's say I found out I was watching Taran's stream where he was like going through the pet peeves. If I find out that Taran really likes someone that I kind of like, but I'm not seeing it as much, and it's like me and Taran left, and I feel good about like the other person, I'm fine to have Taran get his.
What? What are you
Yeah.
even saying right now?
You know what, Pooya? I'm with you. That's
Thank
why I
you.
sometimes ask Shannon which one she would prefer.
Right.
She thinks I'm trying to trick her, but I'm actually just letting her
No,
take one.
that's not
Exactly,
how
and
human
you
beings
give
are.
her who she wants. Like we saw you give her who she wants that one time.
Yeah.
No, because that was to mess with my mind.
Yeah.
Shannon,
This is
you
how she
think-
rationalizes it in her
Yeah,
brain.
you think we're
What's
here to
wrong with you?
scam and deceive? We're
Yeah.
just trying to draft and banter.
We're just being
That's really
friends.
the two
Just
pieces
I
of
don't
wrestling.
understand any of you. Like the fact that you guys, you care so little and you've all won. Like it's just not fair. But we're gonna get to the spreadsheet.
I definitely bowed out at one point to make sure that Pooya could get Venus for sure. You know, I was like, hey,
Yeah,
I know this
you
means a
did.
lot
You
to
did
them.
let me get
Yeah.
Venus because she's Persian. That's my guy
Yeah,
right there.
I was
Yeah.
like,
I understand that's important, and I'm still against
But
it.
you see how we're able to do that and still win? You know, you might want to take some notes. So moving on, we have
You guys are
my
wrong.
pick, Caroline. And I was down to picking Caroline or Kishan, and I really couldn't decide because neither one of them were that low on my list, but neither of them stood out. And so I remember going over her bio and saying, like, she just feels like very middle of the road. And I was like, and that's solid, right? Back in the day, we looked for those type of players, like the ones who could kind of just blend in. And so I said, let's go for it. And I am so happy with this pick. I don't know how she could win. Like, I don't really see how the pieces line up, but if she does, man, I would be so proud of this win. Caroline has been a good character throughout. Finding herself in that alliance with Gabe early on. She's been very social. A lot of people want to play with Caroline. She makes a big flip this time. She seems like she's strategically tapped in. I don't know, Shannon. I know you said my team is like the fourth most likely to win, but I have Caroline and Sam. I think they're fine. You don't think Caroline can win the game?
Well, I would put her and Sam some version of fourth and fifth. But I don't think them combined even gets to the level of the top three for me, if that makes sense. I've got like Rachel, Teeny, Andy, Gap, Sam and Caroline, Gap, Genevieve, Kyle, Sue. So like even combining that, but like, yeah, I think you have two possible options. I don't think they're ruled out fully for me, but I like heavily favor the first three, if that makes sense. I mean, look, between Caroline and Kishan, and I felt pretty even about them too. You have someone in the game who does have, I think, some win potential. I don't know that the edit is usually there for Caroline, and I love Caroline. I think the position right now isn't amazing based on how this Gabe vote went. I didn't agree with the move. And then I also think the perception, you know, it's like it's Gabe as a juror. He seems to respect Caroline a little bit more, but it's been the wounded bird's perception. And even someone like Tiyana, who's not on the jury, but she comes out in the exit interview and was so like, yeah, they were his wounded birds. And I'm like, is that how you guys all still think and what the jury might have thought? Because I don't agree and I hate it. And I'm concerned for her if so. So those are my question marks, but I love Caroline. I'd like to see it happen. I'd rather have her than Kishan. She'll at least on placement versus the chance as well. So I think it's pretty good, but it could be better.
I recall you being very much like, well, y'all, I don't understand any of you. Why would you leave me, Kishan? You are all idiots.
No, that's not what happened.
Rewind the
No, it
tape.
sounds like it. I think she
Yeah.
called me Tweedledee.
Exactly,
She
this
called
is
you
all-
Tweedledum. I
Exactly.
don't know. Yeah, I felt
Caroline and
very
Kishan,
offended.
I felt fine about both. Like, I didn't hugely stand out about either. I wasn't like he was a top pick for me. And that's
Yeah.
where I was with both of them.
But I think
That's
without
like
a shadow of a doubt, Chappell, I think Caroline was the steal of the draft. I think no debates had. I think being one of the last two picks here, someone who even Shannon, by your metric, if she's like there's a drop and she's 4 or 5 contender, that's top 4 or 5 baby. Like that's really good. And I do think coming into the midway point of the season, I didn't know what her story was, but the first couple episodes of the merge, I was like, oh my God, has this been Caroline's story all along? And we're about to see a win happen. That has dropped for me. Like I said, the last couple of weeks, a little bit of a drop now. But I've been loving what I'm seeing. I feel like her energy is infectious. Watching her cheer on everybody for small accomplishments. This is who Andy wanted from the get-go. This is who Andy wanted at the Coconuts. You know?
My coconut. Yeah.
I don't get this.
Yeah.
Why isn't she being mean to people?
Yeah, she got some Chappell energy, man. I am a cheerleader to hear it throughout for all the people that I'm like rooting for everybody except Shannon here. But Pooya, I have to imagine, Carolina wins this. This would be like one of those, like, it feels like almost like a come from behind victory, even though she's never really been at the bottom. It felt like there was moments where she could have been at the bottom, but the moment she links up with Sue, the moment she links up with Gabe, they really have just been running that tribe. And now, in the previews, it's looking like there might be a shift. Maybe there's another 5 forming, and Caroline might be in the number. So I'm kind of, like I said, I'm very high on this pick, even though it was so low on my draft list.
Yeah, I don't think you can counter out by any means at all.
Aaron, if you don't win the draft with one of your 3 picks, you're rooting for my team, right? Caroline, Sam, you got to be, right? I'm second in your rankings.
Taran doesn't care about any of us. He's like,
hold on. Let him speak. Let him talk.
I'm rooting for Teeny more than if
all
it's
right.
not me. If it's not me and Andy, it's got to be Teeny.
Why?
Because I know Teeny more than I know the rest of them.
Rooting for the person who voted out Asia is crazy. Rooting for the person who voted out Asia, you see it. Take that Mount Rushmore means a lot less now. Speaking of people who voted out Asia, your last pick, Shannon, I mean, you didn't really have a choice at this point, but I did give you the option to go before me, and you did not. Kishan, how do you think things went for Kishan? Because I would say valiant effort and a decent exit edit-wise. It was kind of cool.
I will say his boot episode was a roller coaster. There's been a lot of roller coasters, but it was like, oh, he's emerged and he might win, and that would be great for me. And then he was out immediately. So that, like in the space of 30 minutes, he emerged and then was cut. I would like the first few episodes, I'm like, he got like an establishing confessional. I was deluding myself a little bit. Didn't go great, the fact that Rob and I were trading boots for the first 4 episodes and no one had lost anyone was not how I intended to start.
That was like
sweeter.
That was the consolation prize that first month. We're like, we lost Asia. I'm very sad, but the draft board's looking
at least
sweet.
Least
it wasn't fun. I wasn't enjoying it.
Kishan's one of Genevieve's most memorable victims for sure. I think that's when we saw that the new era editing is getting kind of spicy too. I love it. We got it. Yeah, Kishan, he's like in the back of Genevieve's mind, and she's like remembering, like, oh, he did say that. I can't believe it.
But also, the second that happened, I knew he was gone. And then I just had to
why
watch
would you give us that amazing?
Yeah, of course,
moment?
Right? Yeah. Exactly. So then for the next 20 minutes, I just had to sit and watch him get voted out and know that I was losing my second person in a month, and I was really sad. And now I'm happy because of Rachel, but it's been a long time coming, and I'm glad that I got to come onto this draft. Am I most cocky? Am I most confident? So
having one player left would make me very confident.
Rachel, the most likely to win. Check the chat. Check what the chat thinks.
Okay? You keep saying that, and yet I'm not saying any of that.
Is this your worst average draft placement?
I'm so glad you asked. Oh, amazing segue, Sam. Bring it up. Bring up the spreadsheet.
No, Sam, don't bring it up because we're creeping up on an hour and 20 minutes, and I do have a podcast that I was very clear that I needed to go and do. So we do have to.
It was a pretty simple question. I don't think we need a spreadsheet for it.
Yeah, Shannon, it was a yes or no question.
It really was, and
I don't
honestly,
know. I have let's
all just guess. Let's all just guess and say that it probably is. But this has been so much fun talking to y'all, catching up. And I really had to humble myself and come into this thinking like, okay, you're not going to, Sam, we have to go. I literally have to go, Sam. I'm not playing. So listen,
He really does, and I know he has
Listen,
another 25 minutes.
I have a
time to
thing.
talk
So
about the spreadsheet.
listen,
Rob's fact checker is in the chat. It's his spreadsheet. So now
Yeah, just
Okay,
tell,
text him
go
off air,
follow
you know what
Rob's
I'm saying?
fact checker and
Follow
ask for the
at
post. It's
Rob's
there.
fact checker
Yeah.
on all
Guys,
social media
put on
platforms.
Because I have the
and
spreadsheet
Sky.
open right now too. I look
On
at it sometimes.
Instagram, he
Well,
does polls.
fine.
This is a great
I
plug
will
for
read
Rob's
about
fact
the
checker.
spreadsheet
Yes,
without a
Shannon
visual
has
aid.
her
If that's what you
own,
want
her
to do,
very own podcast called Survivor Global.
Guys.
Shannon, tell us what's coming up next on Survivor Global.
so glad you asked. So if you look at the stats, is this my worst or
On Survivor
is this my
Global.
worst ranking? Is it not on the screen?
On
Then
Survivor Global.
People are losing the visual aid, but I will
Her
talk
worst
about
average
it.
draft
Survivor
placement was
Global.
season 44. This is
Yeah.
her second worst.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
there we have the
13,
answer.
0,
Taryn,
and this is
we're
currently
Taryn,
12.2.
it
Can we
was a
please get the
pleasure
spreadsheet
having
up,
you
Sam?
as well. Taryn, please
I'm
tell us where the
so
people
happy.
can find you in the meantime.
Find me on Twitch, hanging out. I've got a scripted show podcast. And you know what I will say? I said I was rooting for Teeny, but I will also say I'm actually very pleased with all of the winning contenders here.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of Rachel. I do really like Sam. And I'm like very, very pleased, I think, with most outcomes this season.
Yeah, I'm a fan of all our potential winners here. Pooya, I know you're loving this season. What else are you working on in the meantime as well?
Well, Chappell, I'm loving a lot of seasons of television right now. Survivor has been very near and dear lovely this year. Both seasons, actually, I feel like I've nailed it. But I've been watching Traders Canada, and that has been so good. Scally and I were talking about how we think this is in our top 3 of all
I just
time.
caught up.
Ooh.
You did? Oh, there we go, Taryn.
And it
I'm one
is
behind.
my favorite Trader season I've watched.
There we go, Taryn.
Whoa,
Love that.
better than UK1? Because UK1, they were
I didn't watch
insane.
that one.
Okay, those people were nuts. Those people,
Well, it
they
beats the
thought
US
people were
ones by
dying.
far. So, Taryn, you're on point for that. for
Aaron,
sure.
those people, they thought those people were literally getting murdered in that castle, and you cannot tell me different.
Mhm.
What else you got, Pooya?
90 Day Fiance has been good. Scally is actually joining me for a double header this week. We're going to talk about that. That season's also been a lot of fun. And Liana and I are doing our Masked Singer coverage. Last season of Masked Singer that we're covering ever before we move on to a different project that's coming soon.
All right, and Shannon, you have 30 seconds. The graphics up. Go.
Good. I was gonna say,
You have 30 seconds, and I will silence a woman.
No, people want the spreadsheet.
This
and you have
podcast is
21 minutes
ending.
until you're-
This
is
podcast is
Shannon, I
ending in
gave
the
you
next
the
2 minutes.
spreadsheet. Go.
Oh,
You
thank
have
you, Taran.
20
Oh, I
seconds.
thought it was Sam. Okay, Sam, I'm mad at you. Taran, thank you. Okay,
You
so let's look
have
at these stats.
20 seconds.
Chappell, please let me go through the spreadsheet. If you see on the number of first place for average draft places, I have 3 of 7 seasons. That's crazy. Not to mention
Less
2
than half.
twice. 5 of 7 seasons in the top 2 is insane. This one hasn't gone as well, and 44 didn't go as well. But if you see, no one else even has more than 1 average draft placement first place. I have
Everyone else has
3.
more than
Everyone
at
else
least
has
0
the
wins.
one thing that
Shannon.
matters, though.
Yeah.
So, Shannon, thank you for sharing that with us.
Look at
what
this. This
what else
is
are you working
incredible.
on
Look at these
in the
stats. I have
meantime?
tweeted them before. So
And do you have
everyone
any
can
plugs?
Again,
see-
Rob's fact checker on Blue Sky, Twitter, Instagram,
On all
great
social media
follow. And
platforms,
this is a great
please follow
spreadsheet. Shout out
Rob's
to them for
fact
keeping it
checker.
updated.
Oh, it
This
is
is
kind of
an
funny
amazing
if you look at
spreadsheet.
the order for this season. It's the reverse order of the overall ratings.
Oh, the draft order? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I see.
what do you mean?
For the average draft placement right now is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the opposite
yeah.
direction of the leaderboard.
Yeah.
Right.
And Shannon, thank you for sharing that. And for me,
It was
you
really
can
good.
catch me here on RHAP talking about the summit with Taran, on RHAP Scripted, talking about the sex lives of college girls, talking about House of Villains with Jenny Autumn, and then on my podcast, Recap Kickback with Mari every week, talking about various different things, Christmas movies, Black stuff, entertainment news, all that good stuff. And then, of course, here with my friends here on the RHAP Survivor Draft next season when that comes around. Hopefully, our other draftees will be back to join us, Liana, Asia, and of course, Rob. But until then, we will have to catch you all next time. Make sure you tune in for these last few episodes. Catch us in Houston next week, and then be ready for.
Oh,
the
I was
part
meant to
2.
plug something, but
Yeah,
I was.
well,
too-
I'd asked you to do that 12 times.
yeah, but you didn't put up the spreadsheet.
No, 12 times.
Okay. All right.
You-
Done with that.
want-
The
all
spreadsheet
right.
was great. Sam asked me to plug that when you guys are all in Houston having fun, I'm going to be having my own fun with Evie on the after show. I meant to plug it.
Hey!
Survivor Global will be Nick. We did the B&B collab this week. That's all the things happening with me. I want to say thank you to the people. Thank you to the many supporters in the chat, supporters of
All
stats,
3.
supporters of average draft placement, supporters of me.
Yes.
I think the
Thank
people's
you. all.
Thank
for
you to all
supporting
the
us.
supporters of everybody
Yes.
and all
No,
of us.
Yes.
If you're supporting anyone else, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Right.
There's one good guy here.
And it's me. Thank y'all so much. We'll talk to y'all next time. Peace.